So we will continue now. As I discussed earlier, explanation 1 for the removal of doubts. I am not reading that once again. Offense or which is for an offense or which is prohibited by law. If you are incurring an expenditure towards an which is to meet the fallout of an offense, or for a purpose which is prohibited by law, deduction is not available. I will discuss two important cases. Para Singh, CIT versus Para Singh, Supreme Court judgment, very interesting judgment. This is a judgment in the context of the Act 1922. Please understand, 1922 Act, judgment pronounced in 1980. I will take you through the facts. Facts are very interesting. Let me see how you respond. For any purpose which is an offense or which is prohibited by law is explained in this judgment by the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court. As I told you last time, how do you read this? CIT versus Para Singh, 1980, 3 Textmen 67 SC. SC stands for Supreme Court. It means that CIT, Commissioner Income Tax, has gone to the Supreme Court against Mr. Para Singh. Okay. So CIT, if it appears first, meaning the CIT has gone to the Supreme Court. If it were to be Para Singh versus CIT, then it would mean that Para Singh has gone to the Supreme Court. 1980 is the year in which Textmen has published this judgment. Okay. 3 is the book, 3 Textmen, book number 3. In that book, page number 67 is the reporting of this judgment. Facts, see the facts. Assessee was carrying on a regular smuggling activity. Please let these facts be clearly registered. His activity was smuggling activity. You are all aware, smuggling activity is prohibited by law. Activity itself is prohibited by law. That activity of smuggling consisted of taking currency notes out of India. Years back, he would take Indian currency notes out of India and purchase gold in Pakistan, which was later smuggled into India. He would purchase gold with Indian currency in Pakistan, and he would again smuggle that gold into India. So one day, while crossing the Indo-Pakistan border into Pakistan, the Indian police recovered from him. He was crossing into Pakistan. He was going into Pakistan. Before he could cross the Indian borders, Indian police caught him and recovered from him currency notes worth rupees 65,500, which he admitted was to be used for purchasing gold. So please understand the facts. He was into smuggling business. He would take Indian currency into Pakistan, buy gold, get the gold in India, smuggle the gold into Indian territory. Okay. 65,500 was recovered from him with the view to smuggling into India. Okay. Custom authorities ordered their confiscation. The amount of cash which was found in his possession, the custom authorities confiscated, meaning took possession of the cash. Out of the said amount, the department, ITO, added an amount of rupees 60,500 only in the assessee's taxable income as income from undisclosed sources. The department said 65,500 was the amount, but it seems from his books of accounts, he had some 5,000 rupees cash balance available in his books of account. And this is what I understand, because they added only 60,500. The amount which he was caught with was 65,500. Okay. But department itself, while making the assessment, added only 60,500. It didn't add 5,000 rupees. It didn't add 65,500. It only added 60,500. That was added as income from undisclosed sources. He obviously contested this payment, this addition. He said that this addition should not be made. The matter went up in appeal before the AAC, Appellate Assistant Commissioner. Those days we had AAC. Appeals were to be filed with the Appellate Assistant Commissioners. Now there are no more appeals to be filed with the Assistant Commissioner. You file appeals only with the Commissioner Appeals, Commissioner Income Tax Appeals. So this was, as I told you, the old Act, 1922 Act, where the appeals were to be filed with the Appellate Assistant Commissioner. So again the addition of 60,500 as income from undisclosed sources. He protested. Appellate Assistant Commissioner said no, department has added correctly. He confirmed the order of the assessing officer of the ITO. So he went in further appeal. On further appeal, the assessee represented in the appeal before the tribunal, he said that if, this is very important, on further appeal, the assessee represented that if he was regarded as engaged in the business of smuggling gold, I have highlighted so that you remember and understand. What did he say? If you are saying that I am in the business of smuggling gold, which smuggling activity itself is illegal, he said he was entitled to a deduction under section 10(1) of the entire sum of 65,500 as a loss incurred in the business by way of confiscation of the currency notes. Please understand, let me make you understand this argument. The section 10(1) is with reference to the earlier Act 1922. Now we have section 28(1) corresponding to this. 28 small one, not the English one, the small Roman one. He said, he argued before the tribunal or the higher authorities, High Court also. If you say that I am in the business of smuggling activity, smuggling gold into India, then the amount which you are confiscating, the currency note which you have confiscated from me, is a normal loss in any smuggling activity. In a smuggling activity, it is an activity done very secretly, surreptitiously through the porous borders. So the police someday is bound to catch you. So therefore, if he says, he argued, if I am caught, then it is a normal fallout of such kind of an activity. So normal expenses of business, normal losses of business should be allowed to me as deduction. He argued, he illustrated, supposing I am into regular business and while traveling to deposit cash in the bank, my cash is lost. Supposing somebody snatches away my bag and runs away with the cash, or I unknowingly drop it while traveling, maybe I leave it in the car, or maybe I leave it in the bus or in the rickshaw, and it is lost. So that loss should be allowed to me as deduction if I am in a business which is a legitimate or a legal business. So this loss which I have incurred, as he said, is equitable, comparable with the loss incurred by a person in his legitimate business. Legitimate business expenses, legitimate business losses are allowed. So you should allow this loss to me. Don't make this distinction. Interestingly, this argument was accepted by the tribunal. Tribunal said, yes, you are considering this person to be a smuggler. So whatever losses and expenses are otherwise necessary or otherwise normal for this kind of an activity, should be considered to be a business loss. Tribunal decided in his favor. Department was not happy, so department went in further appeal. So High Court also upheld this. Supreme Court, when the matter is Supreme Court very interestingly said, Supreme Court held that it was an incident as predictable in the course of carrying on the activity as any other feature of it. What it means is कि in a smuggling activity, the cash being confiscated is normal, is a feature of this activity, smuggling activity. Gold being confiscated is also a feature. The gold being lost in the runaway, in the milieu, the police may chase you, the police may chase this person, and while chasing, while running, this person may drop some money, he may drop some gold biscuits or the smuggled gold. All that is bound to happen. It is a feature. It is an ordinary feature of any kind of a smuggling activity. When he is being accosted by the police, he may fight with them, so that may be lost. Some other terrorist may run away with his smuggled gold, that also may happen. These are normal features of such kind of a business activity. Supreme Court held that it was an incident as predictable in the course of carrying on the activity as any other feature of it. Therefore, Supreme Court said this amount which has been confiscated, the gold which has the cash which has been confiscated in respect of this, that should be a deduction allowed to him. The Supreme Court held that having regard to the nature of the activity, possible detection by the custom authorities constituted a normal feature integrated into all that was implied and involved in it. As I said, this is bound to happen. This is what it means. What I have just read, it means that this is bound to happen in any kind of a smuggling activity. So if that is a normal course of business, then such losses incurred in normal course of business should be allowed as deduction. Therefore, the Supreme Court held that, therefore, the confiscation of the currency notes was a loss occasioned in pursuing the business. It was a loss in much the same way as if the currency notes had been stolen or dropped on the way while carrying on the business. As I explained to you earlier, going to a bank, you drop some cash unknowingly, collecting some cash from the customers and wanting to deposit in your office, somebody maybe picks your pocket and it is lost. So that loss, the analogy, the comparison Supreme Court made was this. This is a normal business loss. So it may happen someday the cash which you are carrying into the bank may be snatched from you. So that is a normal occurrence of business. You take an insurance policy against that, securing this loss or covering this loss. So whatever is bound to happen in normal course should be allowed as a deduction. This was the analogy which Supreme Court drew. So therefore, there was a significant distinction. This is an important part of the judgment. There was a significant distinction between the infraction of the law. Infraction matlab meaning violation of the law. There is a significant difference between the violation of the law committed in carrying on a lawful business and violation of the law, and unlawful business and violation of the law are two different things, distinct things, significantly different. So in a lawful business, which we will take a case law later on this, lawful business and infraction of law committed, violation of law committed, what will be the consequence of that violation of the law. You have made a payment in respect of the violation, some fine has been paid, a penalty has been paid. So what will be the effect of that? That we will discuss in another case law. So infraction, violation of a law when you are doing a lawful business, and violation of a law when you are doing an unlawful business. When a person is doing an unlawful business, the consequences are very, very different. In case of an unlawful business, violation of a law, penalty allowed. If you remember, I have discussed some time back, you going into a no entry area or one way, you take your vehicle into a one way, you pay 100 rupees fine. So you are into a lawful activity. Driving with a valid license is a lawful activity, but you are going for a business purpose. Your business is lawful. Your business is lawful. You are going for a sale of a particular product, to deliver a particular product. That business is lawful. But you are going by your motorcycle and you are parking your motorcycle or going into a no entry area where you have to pay 100 rupees fine. Lawful business, fine paid, we have just discussed some time back. Expenditure not allowed. Lawful business, violation of law, penalty paid, not allowed. Unlawful business, violation of a law, penalty paid, allowed as a deduction. So the assessee was accordingly entitled to a deduction of 65,500 under section 10(1). This judgment was pronounced, as I told you, in 1980 in respect of 1922 Act. The corresponding section is 28(1) of the Income Tax Act 1961, present Act. Another judgment. Haji Aziz and Abdul Shakur brothers. Haji Aziz and Abdul Shakur brothers. This is again a Supreme Court judgment, 1961 year, again in the context of 1922 Act, 41 ITR 350. ITR is in 41 is the book number, ITR is Income Tax Report, Income Tax Reporter, it is the book name. 350 is the page number, SC is Supreme Court. Here this is the case where this person Haji Aziz and Abdul Shakur brothers, they were into some kind of a lawful business and they violated the law. Being in a lawful business, they violated the law. You may violate the law unknowingly or knowingly, and for that violation you pay a penalty. This judgment simply says, to put it in very simple terms, if a person in lawful business violates a law, any law, and he pays a penalty, that penalty does not get allowed as deduction. This is what this judgment says. Let me explain the nitty-gritties of it, the facts of this. The assessee carried on the lawful business of importing dates, khajur, from abroad and selling them in India. He used to import dates, khajur, from foreign countries and sell in India. The import of dates by steamer was prohibited. Years back, you couldn't have got dates by steamer. Yet he imported dates from Iraq by steamer, and the consignments were confiscated by the custom authorities. He got it by steamer, and therefore the customs apprehended him, caught him. The entire consignment of dates was taken away. The dates were released subsequently on payment of fine. They confiscated the dates. Khajur was confiscated, so he pays the fine and releases the dates. The issue is the payment of the fine. Whether that fine paid should be allowed as a deduction in determining his business income or not is the issue. Supreme Court said no, because he was in lawful business. The assessee's claim to deduction was rejected on the ground that the amount was paid by way of penalty for breach of a law. In a lawful business, if you break a law, penalty paid, not eligible for deduction. So Haji Abdul Shakur brothers, an infraction of law. Why do they not allow this to you? Because there is an infraction of law was not a normal incident of business. To commit an infraction, a violation of law, is not a normal incident of any business. See, people may be committing violation of a law on daily basis without being detected. That's a different question altogether. But that does not mean that violation is permissible even on payment of a fine. Let me illustrate. Supposing you are driving, you are going by your motorcycle through a one way where you are not allowed to enter. That one way is, let us say, 2 kilometers distance. You are not allowed to enter that lane, but you still enter that lane. The police catches you. He fines you 100 rupees. Now you have travelled only 500 meters. The entire distance is 2 kilometers. Now can you tell him, I have already paid the fine, allow me to travel that balance distance by this road? Should you be allowed? Please understand that fine is not a toll. You pay the toll and you are allowed to travel that lane. When you go to Pune by expressway, you pay the toll and you are allowed to travel. That fine is not the equivalent of toll. When he catches you at a 500-meter distance, you cannot ask him to allow you to travel the balance distance by that road. He will ask you to go back. You will be required to go back. Why? Because it is an infraction of law. It is not a toll. Please understand. So infraction of law is not the equivalent of toll. It is not a payment made to authorize you to travel. No. So infraction of law was not a normal. It is not a normal incident of business. You cannot be in a regular business violating the law on a daily basis. People do it on a daily basis. That's a different question altogether. They are not caught, is a different question altogether. But then that is not a normal tendency. That couldn't be accepted as the normal tendency of any businessman. So therefore, it is not a normal incident of business carried on by the assessee, and the penalty was rightly held to fall on the assessee in some character other than that of a trader. He is paying the penalty for the release of the dates not because he is a trader. The dates consignment is released only because he has paid the penalty, and that is not a normal feature of business. He is not paying the penalty as a trader. He is paying the penalty as a person who was caught on the wrong side of the law, who has infracted, who has violated the law. So that penalty is on that account and not on account of a trader. If he were to be paying, let us say, the amount as a trader, then he may be allowed to get his dates by steamer. But even tomorrow he cannot get the next consignment stating that, okay, this is the fine which I have to pay. I will again get another consignment by steamer and I will again pay the fine. The customs will not allow you to do this. The customs will never release the second consignment or third consignment if the person is found in this fashion. So please understand, fine, penalty and toll are two different things. Fine and penalty is far different from toll. So to summarize, illegal business, fine paid, penalty paid, allowed. Legal business, fine paid, penalty paid, not allowed as deduction. This completes section 37. We will stop here. Thank you very much.